Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your sleep-deprived host, Tony Cañas. Just got back from the first of two Las Vegas conferences in a row. And today I have with me Pamela Corey, the president at the Chinese and American Insurance Association. Pamela, how's it going today?
Good. How's everything with you? Well, you just said sleep deprived, right? So,
I, I'm, I'm, I'm doing fantastically well. I am at the tail end of a 2-month tour of conferences. And so I have one left. I have InsurTech Connect left, which is the biggest. Uh, and for the first time, I went to Applied Net, which was very good, but I really didn't want to spend 2 weeks in a row in Vegas. So I came back to my brother's in Kansas last night, landed about 1 a.m., and then I've put in most of a workday. Um, so we met at the Business Insurance, the magazine, Diversity and Insurance, I believe it's called Leadership Conference. Uh, and I had I thought I was familiar with all or the great majority of kind of the DEI organizations within insurance, and I had never heard of the Chinese American Insurance Association. So I am very, very curious about the association and where it came from, how you got involved. So yeah, but I'd love to hear the story of the association.
so we'll start with a little bit of history of the association and how it was started and why, and then I'll explain my role. So, the Chinese American Insurance Association was founded by one reinsurer, one life insurance broker, and one P&C insurance broker. Um, Historically, there actually was no Chinese insurance brokers in the Chinatown community. David Chin was the first in New York. He had a small retail shop, and then David J. Louie started a wholesale retail agency. And David had seen that there was a real gap between the Chinese community and the insurance community, and that there was a real gap between brokers like himself and the larger insurance community. And so they founded this organization together to do just that, bridge the gap between the Chinese community and the insurance community, to educate the Chinese community, and then to bring the Chinese insurance community into the actual insurance community. And that was in the 80s that they founded this organization, and really strived to make sure that they were making sure that everybody was involved and knew what was happening and knew what their needs were, and that their needs were getting met by the carriers, right? Because if you don't know they're there, how are you going to service them? So that's really the mission statement behind it. It's grown since then. We do a lot more community outreach. Actually, we just hosted yesterday a charity give back day in Chinatown, where we brought our sponsors down to a local food bank to distribute food, right? And we catered in hot meals to give out as well, so all of the people that were there. So it was a very meaningful experience. My involvement began when I joined Seneca. Seneca had a very unique footprint as a carrier in the Asian American insurance market. And we had a gentleman that works for the company that actually started that book. He was with China America in China, and he came here to the United States with China America, and his brokers came with him. And when he left China America and then eventually ended up with Seneca, his brokers came with him. And he grew that book from nothing till about $12 million or so, and then he decided he was going to relocate to Texas. And so I got very, very concerned about their needs from a relationship management standpoint being met now, where their key relationship for the last 20 years was now relocated across the country. So I went out into the community to start meeting with all those brokers, and to my surprise, David Chin and David Louie, who I knew from my career at AIG, were two key members of that group. And so I became very, very involved with those brokers and the book here at Seneca to make sure that everybody's needs were getting met. And I met the Chinese American Insurance Association. I met the board there. A number of those board members were Seneca relationships. And one of the board members was getting ready to retire from the board, and he asked if I would be interested in taking one of the seats on the board. And the following year, then the board asked me formally to become a member of the board. And at the end of that year, I had been elected into the succession as president.
So it's now been how many years that you've been involved with the association?
I've been formally on the board for about 6 years now.
Okay, that is a long time for a for a nonprofit. Um, so I am curious. A lot of what you guys do is community outreach. Is there a a culture of insurance within the Chinese American community, or is there a lot of education building around what insurance can do? Like, are they generally already buying insurance and it's just a matter of serving them better, or are they significantly underinsured?
So it actually depends on what generation they are, right? So if they're newly immigrated, or if they are first, no, I wouldn't even say first generation. If they're an immigrant, they're going to be underinsured. They're going to need a lot more education, because there are mandatory coverages here and things that we do here in insurance that they don't have in China, right? So they get here and they work really hard and they build a business, and now they're being told that they must make these purchases. And if you've ever spent time immersing yourself in the immigrant story, you can only imagine what they go through for the American dream, to then get told you've killed yourself for 10 years, now you have to give this money away, right? It's a whole thing. The first generation, even second generation, are much more sophisticated. They already understand that, but there might be things that they don't understand. So if we look at the impact right now of convective storm on rates and climate change and what's happening around the country and around the world and what's driving the hard market, they may not understand that, right? Those constant rate increases, the push for insuring to value by the banks. The Chinese community does buy a lot of real estate. So suddenly the increased insurance to value plus rate increases, and then on top of it, maybe some tightening of coverage depending on where they're located, that takes an extra level of education, because that's a more sophisticated level of buying that when you're a small business owner, and it doesn't matter if it's within the Chinese community or not, might not be there. So that's actually a seminar that we're working on coming up for January, is talking about the difference between a rain-driven event and a surge event and flood coverages, and the need to take those extra measures in protecting the property and making sure that your investment is safe.
And language-wise, do those in English? You do those in both languages?
So we will usually, so any of the brokers speak English very well. There's not an issue when it's a carrier to broker conversation. When we're doing it directly to the community, then we always want to make sure we're doing it bilingual.
Okay. And I see that you on the website that you also have events. What are the events you generally have in any given year?
We always have a appreciation party for our financial supporters. We always have a holiday party. The big one is the Lunar New Year banquet. It's probably the signature event. People consider that a who's networking events of the year. Plus, it's a cultural immersion, right? So it's a great deal of fun with sometimes dancers or face changing, or in the dragon dances, and so that's probably the big one. But then I said we partner with CPCU or NIA and Chinese Manpower, and we do job fairs, we do internship fairs, we do just community education about insurance, promoting the industry as a career option to people that might have never heard of it. I am personally probably a big loudmouth about making sure that we're getting to them when they're in high school and getting them excited about all the options that there are in insurance. So we do a lot of that as well. So Chinese Manpower has actually been a really big partner for us in helping us get deep into the community, to the high school students, to recent college grads, and really promoting the industry and the career options.
That is fantastic. We don't do a great job of that even with your traditional Americans, uh, and much less so with any sort of minority communities, and with Chinese Americans being such a large community, it, we're losing out by not. Uh, but hold on, we have a little bit of an echo. Hopefully, it's better now. Okay, yes, I think that it went
Sounds
away.
better.
Sorry about that. So with them being a very large minority group, it's so important for us to get them excited for insurance careers, which truly are just fantastic careers. And in my experience, especially in the broker community, uh, people like to buy insurance from people who understand their culture and hopefully speak their language. Right, same thing with Latinos, even with African Americans, where there's no language issue. They still feel more comfortable buying insurance from people that look like them,
Right.
right, and that understand their culture. So it is important to get enough cover to get enough and the right coverage into the community. You need to be well represented by them in the community. Um, is it New York only, or are you active in San Francisco or in other large Chinese American areas?
So Kaya was founded as a New York group, but it pretty much does serve the whole of the East Coast. We are right now looking to expand into more states. I feel that there was so much going on here that I don't know that there was enough time historically for anybody to really tackle expanding it out, which is what we're looking into right now. So I'm really excited about that. But I know like the community up in Boston, they actually come down here for the banquet and the different events. And so I want to say that most of the East Coast actually funnels in through the local New York team.
Yeah, I would think San Francisco is where you have another huge Chinese American population that's too far away to be involved in the East. Uh, that's fantastic, and it's been you said since the '80s that the
Yeah.
organization's been around.
It's over 30 years old.
Okay, so for any listeners who want to get involved, what's the best way to get in touch and touch base on becoming involved with the association?
So you can always find me on LinkedIn or Instagram, or on the website. So we do have a board member, and we do have a company that helps us out with monitoring our LinkedIn as well as our website to make sure whoever reaches out is gotten back to usually within 24 hours. We're always want new members. We're always willing to help with whatever the problem might be or whatever the need might be. So I would say those are probably the two best ways.
Okay, fantastic, and I will both tag you on LinkedIn when the episode goes out, and also I will include both the website and your LinkedIn on the show notes. And thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.